Well, thanks for staying with us here on Morning Live. Now, Advocate Kholeka Gcaleka assumed office at the beginning of February as South Africa's Deputy Public Protector. Now, briefing the Justice Portfolio Committee for the first time on Saturday, Gcaleka declared her commitment to reach out to poverty-stricken communities who've been isolated from the rest of the country by inequality and poor service delivery. The Deputy Public Protector also spoke highly of the team effort in her office, touting them as knowledgeable, passionate and preoccupied with contributing to improving the lives of South Africans. Advocate Gcaleka has held different positions spanning from former state advisor to a senior state advocate and former senior director of public prosecutions. The Deputy Public Protector, Advocate Kholeka Gcaleka, joins us now via Skype. Thanks so much for your time this morning and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Sakina. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers.
Advocate Gcaleka, almost just short of 4 months into the job now, and we've had COVID-19 happening to us. It must have been quite daunting, but how would you assess your first 4 months in this job?
Thank you, Sakina. It has been a very pleasant 4 months, highly eye-opening. I've had a total overview of the entire institution, have met with the staff of Public Protector South Africa, those at head office personally. I personally went to our Cape Town office. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 lockdown, I was unable to visit the rest of our offices. However, I've had visual conversations with the entire staff of Public Protector SA, and I must say it was a serious eye-opener, the kind of work they were doing, the hard work they're putting in, the passion that they have to curb the bridge between those who are more fortunate and less fortunate, and those who actually have access to service delivery and do not have. But I have also had an overview of service delivery in our country through the cases that we receive at Public Protector SA. Mostly the cases that we've received during the lockdown, where people are complaining about their dire situations of lack of water, sanitation, access to food during this time where they are unable to go to work, those who do informal work.
And before we just dig into that, perhaps as a benefit to the viewer watching, let's just talk about your portfolio. It's a large one. It includes complaints, stakeholder management, alternative dispute resolutions, which involves, of course, some of these upcoming and incoming complaints that you talk to us. But with regard to your specific role as the Deputy Public Protector, can you just inform South Africa exactly what you are expected to do?
What I'm expected to do is to support the Public Protector, as we are both executive authorities, to carry out the delegations that she has delegated to me, which part of them are that of stakeholder management and customer service, administrative justice and service delivery, alternative dispute resolutions, ensuring the enforcement of the implementation of our remedial actions, and basically in the overall oversight of Public Protector South Africa.
So with regard to the complaints that you've spoken about now, and these are coming through as a result of COVID-19, but before even looking at those, the caseload that your office has been besieged with before this, can you talk to us about that and some of the more prominent cases that you are looking at?
We have quite a huge caseload. As at the previous financial year, we had 94 cases per investigator, which definitely is much higher than the ordinary or the norm that an investigator is supposed to have on their desk. And most of those cases are complex cases that take time to investigate. Under service delivery, our turnaround time is a year to finalize a matter. But it does become a bit of a challenge to finalize those matters within the year because of the caseload, the complexities into the matters, but also because most of our respondents is government itself, and who have their own work to do but have to respond to us at the same time. And some of the complainants are at the most remote areas, so having to make those contacts as well. We have a number of high-profile cases that we are dealing with. Part of that caseload that we are dealing with is the Alexandra Renewal Project, which I also informed Parliament that I was overseeing. There are cases regarding water and electricity billing in the city of Tshwane, the issues of scarcity of water in the Hammanskraal area, the illegal removal of informal settlements. So those are part of the cases that we have, and under the good governance and integrity section, which is not delegated to me, however, which I have oversight over through our oversight systems, we have mostly matters into the irregularities of procurement and so forth within government. So Public Protector SA is really seized with very complex matters.
Very complex matters, and you also have budgetary constraints. So how are you hoping to fare better in this regard? Because you spoke about reaching out to far-flung communities, looking at the inequality and how that scuppers people access to the office of the Public Protector. And I remember even the Public Protector, the current Public Protector, when she was interviewed before being appointed to this position, also spoke about that, as have many others who've been interviewed for these positions. But beyond the rhetoric, beyond saying the right thing, and given the budgetary constraints that you are facing, how are you actually going to practically reach out to those communities and make sure that they are also able to access the services of your office?
We have put together a program to enforce the memorandum of understanding that we have with our different stakeholders, particularly in government. So we are going to seize those opportunities to access the communities, for example, through the speakers of the different municipalities, the provinces, and also partner with other government departments through their outreach programs, because our target market is the same. But also, we would use some of our own resources to reach out to those most far-flung areas. And most importantly is our partnership with traditional leaders, because they are the ones who carry the most constituency, whom we intend to reach out to. So it is using those particular platforms. But also, because of the lockdown, we have also put down a plan to utilize radio station, mostly our SABC radio stations, Umhlaba Wenene, Ukhozi FM, Ikwekwezi, and so forth, that people in rural areas listen to, but also social media platforms, because at this stage we are unable to travel in the manner which we intend to.
So given that, a lot of the time, the complaints that your office receives are directed at the people whom you've just mentioned to try to enter into partnerships with. How exactly will you manage that process of doing the outreach without necessarily, infringing on people's rights? Because if, for example, you go to a certain municipality and there are service delivery constraints and people have complaints of that nature to bring to your office, you're saying that you're going to use the speaker's office in said municipality. Do they even have those budgets? Have you been able to look into that?
We have MOUs with some of these platforms that I have alluded to. They do community outreach participations. There is an agreement with this, and to be honest, there's really no animosity between ourselves and these particular people. They understand that our primary focus is to strengthen constitutional democracy, and they have been receptive to that. We have also done workshops around the speakers, even in respect of executive authorities, in respect of our mandate, and they've been quite receptive to that. Hence, we are confident that the procedures that we've outlined, that we say we can be able to reach our constituency, that it is indeed possible because we've had these kind of conversations with the stakeholders.
But you do realize it goes beyond having the conversation with these stakeholders, because unless they actually practically have the budgets and the will to do it, it's going to be like it has been, and it will go nowhere slowly.
Sakina, the public protector has had outreaches in the past. She's been to the Northwest, she's been to KZN, she's been to Mpumalanga. Government has been receptive and they've been participating and they've been of assistance to our programs.
So you haven't seen any difficulty in that regard with regard to being actually practically able to go out and broaden the scope, as you have outlined for yourself, that you want to see further outreach of this public protector's office into areas where they perhaps have not had this particular access because of inequality. And inequality is huge, and it is continually growing. You see no problem there.
We do not foresee any problems at this stage. However, in our budget, as limited as it is, we have made provision for these outreaches as well. So interacting through our stakeholders is the bigger picture, but it is not the only option. We are also intending to utilize our own resources towards this cause.
Now, in your presentation before Parliament, you also spoke about a collective effort to reaffirm a culture of good governance. And in the office of the Public Protector, in your office also, a part of the good governance and integrity cluster sits there. With the controversies that we see sometimes associated with the office of the Public Protector, how do you intend to personally make sure that integrity is upheld in the office?
Sakina, we've got systems in the office which we are currently strengthening. The protocol of investigations, the procedures of investigations, where we strengthen our record keeping. We ensure that our decisions are based on facts, evidence before us, and the law that we would have researched and the circumstances of that particular matter. From what I said to you when we started off, our investigators are very committed, and from the matters that have come before me, I have not picked up any matter that has been dealt with in an ethical manner. And the strengthening of good governance that I was referring to was inclusive of strengthening of good governance within the state holistically. And by this, to ensure that we issue reports that have integrity, reports that are implementable, and through doing this, we are in partnership and hoping to strengthen our coordination with government itself so that we ensure that our reports become more impactful. Besides issuing the remedial action, but government needs to implement those remedial action for us to be able to see a difference.
Now, 95% of the work of the Public Protector's Office is in the area of administrative and service delivery, which is now directly under your supervision, as I understand. Talking about service delivery cases, how is your workload in that regard?
The workload is huge. It's huge. our investigators are inundated with the work. And as I say, the average of caseload per investigator is 94. Meaning that our investigators are inundated with those kind of complaints. However, we've already started a process with government where we are assisting them through our MOUs to establish their own complaints mechanisms, because most of these matters are matters that have not yet been exhausted through the government channels themselves. Our mandate really is for us to be a complaints office of last resort after government has failed to address the particular complaint. But because of access and because of the dire circumstances that the people of South Africa find themselves in, they directly come to the Office of the Public Protector, and we have not been sending them away. We assist them. However, because of our budget constraints, we cannot sustain this. Hence, we are empowering government to be able to deal with their own complaints, and we will not turn a blind eye. We will monitor those particular complaints to ensure that they are being dealt with in accordance.
Now, how exactly are you empowering government to deal with those complaints?
We are assisting them to establish complaints mechanisms within their institutions where they are able to receive the complaints, report the complaints, attend to the complaints within a particular prescribed time, which we will be monitoring. We'll be having regular meetings where they report back to us on these particular instances. Over the years, the city of Johannesburg had also established an ombuds, and from the cases that we've received, we've seen that it has been fruitful. Even during the COVID period now, there are cases that we've received that we've referred to the Ombud of the City of Johannesburg, which they've been able to attend to and resolve.
So what have these municipalities been doing in the meantime? What has government departments been doing in the meantime? What sort of mechanisms have they been following? And how is this going to change the situation? Because people have been complaining, and the reason why they would then escalate to the public protectors because they receive no joy at the levels where they actually take their complaints to the various government departments.
We are not intending to send back matters that are an escalation to the public protector. The matters that we intend transferring to the departments are the matters that the departments would not have dealt with within their complaints mechanism.
So give me an example of such a case, because if I have information and I think that, this potentially implicates a certain person, high-profile person in a position of authority within a certain department, and I'm scared because we know that whistleblower protection isn't sufficient at the moment. So would I still have to take that sensitive information to the department, knowing that the person who's going to deal with it is in fact the person or people implicated in what I'm saying?
Not at all. We are not intending of referring those matters back to the department. Those kind of matters directly deal with, because you cannot expect the same department to deal with serious issues of maladministration or even fraud and corruption against themselves. The kind of matters which we refer back to the department are the kind of matters where a complainant would say, I live in a particular area, we do not have water in this area. Then we refer it to the department to deal with, to ensure that that matter is attended to. Or a matter that says, for example, in the city of Tshwane, we have a billing challenge. We send it to the city of Tshwane to rectify the bill. Failure to do so, we then proceed to attend to the particular matter. But those institutions first the opportunity to attend to those kind of matters. But this doesn't include the matters where it implicates those persons or the municipality or that particular institution.
Now, Advocate Gcaleka, and of course, you come into this position from various other positions within the state as well. In your own instance, if a matter arrives on your desk and you may have been advisor in a certain instance that is now being brought as a complaint for investigation to your office, are the guidelines clear as to what your own behavior should be in that instance, or is it something that perhaps the drafters of our Constitution didn't anticipate?
It is also a matter of my own values, but the guidelines are clear. Where you are conflicted in a matter, you have a conflict of interest, you need to recuse yourself from that particular matter so that you do not find yourself entering into a conflict that you should not be. What is important is for me to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law and to ensure that I do not find myself involved in a matter that I have a conflict of interest.
And with regard to that, are you feeling any sort of pressure in this position, given that the DA and the EFF, were already against your appointment to this position because of having served in certain capacities in the state before coming to this position? Does that place any sort of pressure on you?
Not at all. It doesn't place any pressure on me. In all the capacities in which I have served throughout the state, from the NPA and other government departments, I have served with utmost integrity. At no stage have I compromised my values, my ethics, my integrity. I have served the state. I have upheld the rule of law, and the kind of matters that I have dealt with proof of same. So I do not feel any pressure at all, and I intend to continue to do so. And in all those capacities, I was serving and assisting to serve the people of the Republic of South Africa, as I am doing in my current position.
And just finally, Advocate Gcaleka, service delivery in itself an almost insurmountable job, it seems at the moment. A long history of a lack of delivery, a long history of corruption within this delivery. Do you believe that you would be able to make more of a difference in this instance where others have failed before? And if so, how?
What's important is a collective effort. You cannot achieve anything if you think you are going to work alone. Hence, even through the Vision 2023 of Public Protector South Africa, it is stressed upon that we need to strengthen our relations with our stakeholders. And our most important stakeholders, it is the state in this instance. Service delivery has to be carried out through the state. So it is for us to ensure that we have cooperation with the state. They fully understand our mandate. And in instances where there's no cooperation and we've issued reports, we need to be able to enforce our remedial actions. And that is exactly what we intend to do as Public Protector South Africa.
Well, that's where we're going to leave it for today. Good luck in the rest of your tenure. Advocate Kholeka Gcaleka, assuming her position at the beginning of February as South Africa's Deputy Public Protector. And as you know, we've been in lockdown for about 2 months now. And the Deputy Public Protector talking to us about the scope of her work and also her intent to serve communities and ensure that service delivery takes place. So that's where we're going to leave that one for now. We're going to take a break. Then Leanne will have the latest news for you.